Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another great episode of Liam Picks Fights. We're going to hit you with a UFC quick pick today. It is the low-key banger of the week. We've got the main card opener, Jack Hermannson, middleweight contender against Edmen, the Golden Boy Shahbazyan. He is the Ronda Rousey protege, trained by Edmen Shahbazyan, and he made a big impact in the UFC. Guys came in, won a bunch of fights, I would argue, against low-level guys that probably aren't UFC caliber. Many of them are no longer with the organization. The guys that are still with the organization don't really have winning records. And then he fought Derek Brunson, and he got humbled and brought back down to earth and really beaten up. And I think that was a tough fight for him to have. He's a young man, and they're putting him right back in here against another killer, Jack Hermannson. And Jack Hermannson, I really think he's just a slept-on guy in the division in terms of fan perception. I think the odds makers have always shown Jack a pretty tremendous deal of respect, and I think that he's earned it. When you look at Jack Hermannson's winning in the UFC, he's done it in impressive fashion, right? He was able to submit two pretty credentialed black belts in David Branch and Gerald Meerschaert with that signature guillotine that he likes to go for. The seated guillotine choke with the arm in. And we saw that he almost was able to pull off the same hold against Jacare Souza. And that was a very impressive, outing from Jack. I think that he proved a lot of people wrong in that spot. That was a plus 200 underdog spot where he went out and beat Jacare. So Jack Hermannson, a very talented fighter. And I think that he has an unorthodox game. You see the David Branch fight. He comes out there and double foot sweeps David Branch to his back in side control. It was unbelievable. In the Gerald Meerschaert fight, he's striking, pounding him from top, letting Gerald get halfway back up to his feet so he could try and go for the guillotine so he could switch back to ground and pound. It was just a very thorough and comprehensive beatdown that he put on GM3. And I respect Gerald Meerschaert, especially his grappling. I think that he's a slick grappler in his own right. Maybe not as good defensively as he is offensively, and I think Jack showed that in the fight. So we have Jack on the other side. Where does Jack tend to struggle? He has struggled in the past against big, powerful strikers who come at him hard in round one. We saw that Jared Cannonier was able to take away some of Jack's tools, make him a little more desperate for his takedowns, and eventually he got caught with a big uppercut, trying to enter on a takedown from a little bit too far away, and Jared was able to close the show there, but he wasn't able to put Jack out. He put Jack down, and Jack was hurt, but he didn't lose consciousness. And in addition, he fought Thiago Santos. He got put away early in that fight, but that was a while ago. That was a bit earlier in his career. I think Jack has improved since then. We see in the Marvin Vettori fight, Jack gets stung. He gets hurt badly in round one, but he bites down on the mouthpiece, and he keeps coming forward. He keeps wanting to fight, and he stays in Marvin's face. He made that a very competitive fight. Admittedly, I backed Jack Hermannson in that fight, and that may have been a mistake in retrospect. I got plus 120 on Jack Hermannson, and I think he only won a round, so maybe it wasn't a good bet in hindsight, but I think that this is a huge step down in competition. It was only a few fights ago, Jack Hermannson was submitting Kelvin Gastelum with a heel hook in the very first round, almost instantly. He pulled himself into guard, went for the heel hook, didn't quite get it, went for it again and got it. He is a aggressive grappler, and I think that he has all the skills and talent and ability to beat somebody like Edmen Shahbazyan here, who has shown that he only has about 7 minutes of cardio to fight with. And that wasn't just in his most recent outing. I wanted to give him a pass after that Darren Stewart fight, except the same things materialized last time against Derek Brunson. And Derek Brunson was able to control him on the ground for, pretty decent stretches of the fight. And I don't think that Derek is necessarily concerned with control-style wrestling all the time. He was in that fight against Kevin Holland, but he's got a lot of power on the feet and likes to throw with people. And I think that he was outlanding and beating up Edmen Shahbazyan on the feet from round two on, certainly. And I thought that it was a very competitive round one. So I think that Derek has maybe a more questionable chin and durability than you see from Jack Hermannson. I think that they're comparable in that way, but I think that Jack has some of the most lethal submissions in the UFC. I think Jack by round one sub is not out of the realm of possibility. I think that even when Edmen's fresh, he might get bullied and out-techniqued by Jack Hermannson here, who I think is going to be slightly bigger, slightly more physical. He's got a bit of a reach advantage. I think that people are sleeping on Jack Hermannson here. I think he's taking a step down in competition and arguably should be a bigger favorite. And so the pick, the play, what I ended up taking action on, I have 1.5 units on the money line, Jack Hermannson at minus 150. I have considered adding more if that line is to shrink any further and he becomes a smaller favorite by fight time, which I don't think that he will. I think that this line might go back out a little bit. I think we might see Jack close around minus 170. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's what I expect the market will do. I think that a lot of sharp action late is going to come in on Jack Hermannson in this fight because he has the capability of going 3 and 5 rounds, whereas Edmen Shahbazyan doesn't really have much of a path to victory outside of the first 2 rounds, in my opinion. And in addition, guys, I backed Jack Hermannson to win by submission, plus 375. This line is long gone. I put 0.25 units on it. I believe market-wide it's around plus 200 now. I think people are seeing what I'm seeing in that Shahbazyan, his grappling tends to fall apart later in fights. He was out-grappled by Darren Stewart down the stretch, and he was also, thoroughly out-grappled by Derek Brunson in his last outing. Potentially he's been able to close up some of those gaps, but without having seen it in evidence in tape yet, I'm going to trust that Edmen Shahbazyan is still a liability on the ground. I'm going to trust that his liability, or that his cardio, is still a liability, and I'm going to trust that he could get finished in this spot. So I also put 0.75 units, Jack Hermannson to win inside the distance, plus 135. I think that this is going to be a high intensity fight. I think that there's going to be exchanges. I think that Jack might get rocked if they stay on the feet too long, but I'm hoping that Jack gets right after his takedown game, forces Edmen Shahbazyan to work very hard in round 1. I think if Jack Hermannson does that, he's going to find a finish down the stretch. And that is my UFC quick pick for UFC Vegas 27, Font versus Garbrandt. If you guys agree with that pick, let me know. Drop a comment below. If you guys want insurance on that pick, I would look at the plus 400, plus 475 that you could get on Edmen Shahbazyan, round 1 knockout. If you're trying to play Edmen, I think that that's the smarter way to back him. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you're going the other way, if you're taking action on this fight or any other, let me know in that comment section below. I always appreciate when you do. On the way out, if you could like this video, subscribe to the channel, it would mean a lot to me. Get after me on social media. I'd love to talk to you about these fights. God bless. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care and enjoy UFC Vegas 27. Good guys versus the bookies. Come back next week. We'll do it all again.